I'm Perry. I'm the Change Delivery Manager at the REC Code Manager. Since the change management process went live in September last year, within the REC change management team, we're always looking for ways that we can make improvements to how we work and how we develop and progress the change proposals. We've recently launched a new version of the Prioritisation Matrix, and in this video I'd like to talk you through the changes we've made and how the matrix is used as part of our change process. One of the key elements of the process is determining when we will start to take forward the development of a change proposal. The Prioritisation Matrix is a key tool we use as part of this. We use a matrix to determine the priority status and the priority score of each change proposal. And this is based on a combination of factors such as impacts, complexity, strategic alignment and urgency. Understanding the priority of a change proposal means that we can focus on resolving more significant issues and delivering changes that offer the most benefit to industry and to consumers. The priority status and score is determined during our initial assessment of a change proposal. It's based on our perception and the current priorities for the REC. The priority does not establish if a change proposal will be progressed, but when. We've reviewed the old matrix and we found that it didn't consistently prioritise changes, especially where there was an element of urgency to progress a change. So we've made a number of changes, the aim of which is to ensure that we're seeing the priorities of consumers and industry reflected appropriately in the output of the matrix. We've tested the new matrix using our portfolio of live changes, and we do consider that the output of the matrix does reflect now what we'd expect to see. And the actual changes we've made to the matrix itself are across a number of areas. We've revised the way that the urgency of a change proposal is used in the determination of priority score and status. It's now considered alongside the other criteria rather than on top of them. We've revised the way the priority score is calculated to enable the score to be used to provide a prioritised view of the change portfolio. We've also reviewed and revised the assessment criteria themselves and the weightings. And we have introduced variable weightings, and this is specifically related to when there's an urgency driving the change. So this urgency could be a drop-dead date being introduced by a licence modification or a significant code review. We've made sure there's a higher weighting for these drivers of urgency when compared to other planned activity. And the weightings of the other criteria are now being adjusted proportionately to reflect the increase or the decrease in the urgency weighting. This means that urgency now has a more balanced effect on the overall priority, increasing and reflecting the priority only when needed. What I'll do now is show you the content within the matrix itself. The Prioritisation Matrix itself is an Excel spreadsheet. It's made up of 4 different tabs. The first tab is the version control. The second tab is the introduction, which explains a bit about the background and how it is used by the code manager as part of the change process and the assessment of the change proposal. The scoring guidance tab explains the different categories and the levels of impact and how the code manager will be using the information to score the change proposal within the matrix itself. And then the matrix tab is where the scores themselves are assigned to each of the categories. So where needed, there are certain elements where a further breakdown of category is required. So for example, in the impacts here, we have consumer impacts as the area that's been assessed. And we can just clarify using the drop downs of whether there is a direct consumer or indirect consumer impact to be considered. We will always use the one that is most significant. And then within the score tab, we'll provide the score 0 to 3 based on the weightings and impacts described in the scoring guidance. So the code manager will assess these scores and update these as part of the assessment of that change proposal during the initial assessment. And the weightings here are then used to determine an overall priority score for the change proposal and a priority status here. Within this matrix, we also do capture, based on the urgency criteria set out by Ofgem, if the change proposal itself is classed as an urgent or a standard change proposal. So we do capture level of urgency within the matrix itself here. So this is where there is a need to meet a specific targeted date, and to what degree we need to start a change proposal, whether it is now or within, say, 0 to 3 months, to enable us to hit that date. Whereas the Ofgem criteria for guidance is specifically set out, and it does affect the type of change proposal, but we capture that here for visibility as we take it forward into that initial assessment. A screenshot of the prioritisation matrix, the scores that the code manager have assigned are included within the initial assessment report for each of the change proposals and published, and these are considered by the REC change panel during their acceptance of the change proposal plan, which will be based on that priority that we've determined. There are a couple of things we want to clarify about how the matrix will be used. The priority of a change proposal is never considered in isolation. We don't apply the prioritisation in a mechanical way. We consider the overall priority in the round on a case-by-case basis, using the prioritisation matrix and the output from the matrix as part of that assessment. But we recognise there may be things that we need to consider that aren't included in the matrix, and we don't ignore these. We will always consider the wider portfolio as well, looking for efficiencies and synergies in how we progress change. It's also important to know that the matrix isn't static. As a minimum, we'll review this once a year, but we'll also review it when other events happen that mean the criteria, the weightings, or the overall approach need to be reviewed or validated. And if we do make changes, we'll communicate these to you. As a final step, I thought it would be worth confirming where on the REC portal you can find the matrix, which is on the change management area of the portal, where there is a link to the matrix. We'll be using the new matrix from now onwards for new change proposals or where there is a need to review the portfolio of changes. But if you do have any questions on anything I've talked through today, please contact the REC service desk and I'll be happy to answer any follow-up questions. And as a final thought, we are continually looking at ways to improve our processes and ways of working. We'll let you know if there are further changes being made, but please get in touch either via the service desk, or if you have an operational account manager, please reach out to them if you have any feedback or suggestions for future improvements. All feedback is very welcome. Thank you.